Hi teachers, it's Melissa. Let's talk about using poetry in the classroom all year. My students come to me with this mindset that poetry is boring, poetry is hard. They don't understand it. It has this mystery to it. I'm sharing ideas in the next few videos that will help you incorporate poetry from day one so that you can get your students comfortable and familiar with writing poetry so that by the time you come to that spring unit, your students have a great mindset and a great amount of experience writing poems and enjoying poetry. Let's dig in. So the next few videos will be using poetry for back to school activities as a response to reading and a way for you to assess student learning. We'll focus on the back to school activities in this video. I start the first few days with my SEL activities, developing my classroom community, getting to know my students, and this is the perfect opportunity to bring in poetry. So let me tell you one of the first activities that I do. It's part of a bigger unit called All About Me, and this is how I begin on day 2. With my students, we will brainstorm a list of character traits that represent those of a good leader and a good learner, because that's what we want for our classroom. I'm setting up my expectations and my norms right away. I will list these on the bulletin board or the blackboard, the whiteboard, but together we come up with all of the words, the traits of a good leader and learner. You probably want to have a few in mind to help students get started. Once we have a list of 20 or 25 words, then I'll ask students to vote on the one they think is the most important. We'll take that trait and we will write an acrostic poem. I'll be talking about an acrostic poem as a form of poetry, how it's very approachable, and I choose this type of poem because most students have had some experience with the acrostic in the elementary grades, probably using their name. And if you're not familiar with an acrostic, that's where you take a word and you list the letters that spell the word from top to bottom. You write a phrase for each letter of the word. So I find most students have had this experience using their name. So we start with the acrostic. Let's say, for example, we choose the word honest. We'll together write an acrostic poem for the character trait honest or honesty. And then from there, I'm able to model how to write an acrostic poem. I can throw in a little bit of review for figurative language. If I have higher level classes, I want to ask them to maybe help me think of a metaphor or a simile or some alliteration to incorporate into our class poem. And so we'll create this acrostic poem together as a class. From there, I'll partner up my students or put them into groups of 3 or 4, and I'll have them choose a second and different character trait. Together with the group, they'll create a second acrostic poem in the same way that I modeled with the class. We'll share those out. We will be able to talk about the character trait itself. I'll be able to comment on the language student groups chose in their poems and really get the conversation going that involves writing and poetry and character traits and leaders in our classroom. So all of this comes together as a great way to review, to get students active and engaged in writing. From there, I'll gradually release the assignment and ask individual students to choose the one trait they feel is most important. I'll have them on a white sheet of paper write their acrostic poem and then decorate it. Now here's where the beautiful part comes in. We'll share those out. This gives me an immediate opportunity to praise students for word choice, for great writing, and really get the positive energy flowing in the classroom. Then, as a result, you have a set of 20 to 25, whatever your class number is, copies of character traits that you can use to create an evergreen bulletin board. Now, you can't get all 25 character trait poems on the bulletin board, so here's where you can use that to switch out your bulletin board every grading period, every 6 weeks. pull another set of the acrostic poems and feature those in that bulletin board display. It's a constant reminder to students about your classroom expectations, what a great leader and learner might be. And so in this way, you have created a bulletin board that you don't have to spend a lot of time decorating, and that becomes sort of an evergreen staple in your classroom. These also make wonderful displays for parent night or open house. If your principal wants student work, you can feature those acrostic poems. I also like to use that as a starting point. If you're meeting with parents, you want one of your first communications to be positive. I send out positive postcards, positive news cards. And so if you're having trouble finding something positive maybe to say at this point, you can use their acrostic poem and praise their efforts on that. So I really love this as a beginning back to school activity because it encompasses so many of the skills that we will be working on throughout the year: writing, language, word choice, exhibiting how to be a great leader, being a great learner in the classroom. So here is an example if we took the word honest and did this acrostic poem. You can see what this looks like. I've also included an image of the All About Me resource that is more back to school activities and that SEL learning that we really want to dig into in the first few days of school. If you have questions about any of this, about using poetry, you need help getting this set up in your classroom, I am here to help you. Be sure to send me an email, reach out by message, check out the website. I am happy to help you get this started. I found it to be just a very effective and positive experience for students at the beginning of the school year.